By the time you feel the fog roll in, your gut has already stopped making the one thing that clears it. Here's something almost nobody tells you. Your brain runs on a fuel it cannot make on its own. It outsources the job to bacteria living in your gut, and for most adults past 35, those workers have been quietly going hungry for years. You know the moment. It's early afternoon. You sit down to do the one task that actually matters today, and your mind just won't grip it. You read the same paragraph 3 times. A word you use every day vanishes mid-sentence. The thought was right there, and now it's gone. You've probably blamed the usual suspects. Bad sleep, too much coffee, or not enough. Age, stress, and sure, those play a part. But there's a layer underneath all of them that rarely gets talked about, a layer that isn't in your head at all. It's about 18 inches lower, and once you understand it, a lot of that afternoon fog stops feeling like a personal failing and starts looking like a supply problem. Because your brain isn't lazy, it's underfueled, and the fuel it's missing has a name. The fuel is called butyrate. It's one of a small family of molecules called short-chain fatty acids, and your body doesn't manufacture them in any meaningful amount. Your gut bacteria do. Here's how it works. When you eat certain fibers, the kind your own stomach can't digest, they travel all the way down to your large intestine, untouched, and their specific bacteria ferment them. The byproduct of that fermentation is butyrate. Think of it like a brewery. The fiber is the grain, the bacteria are the brewers, and butyrate is what comes out the other end, a fuel that doesn't just stay in your gut. It crosses into your bloodstream, travels up, and reaches the one organ that's most desperate for clean energy, your brain. So here's the problem. Modern eating has gutted the supply chain. The average adult eats a fraction of the fiber these bacteria need. Over years, the brewers that make butyrate shrink in number. The brewery slows down, and the fuel that was supposed to keep your focus sharp and your barrier sealed just isn't being made in the amounts it used to. You don't feel that happen. There's no alarm. You just notice, somewhere in your late 30s, that sharpness you used to take for granted is harder to find. Now, let's get specific, because this is where it stops being a metaphor and becomes biology. The barrier. Your brain is protected by something called the blood-brain barrier. It's a wall of tightly joined cells that decides what gets in and what stays out. When it's sealed, your brain is calm and protected. When it gets leaky, inflammation seeps in, and that's a setup for fog and mental fatigue. Researchers have found that these short-chain fatty acids are critically important for keeping that barrier sealed. Butyrate, propionate, and acetate, the 3 main ones, all made by bacteria, fermenting fiber help restore the proteins that hold those wall cells tightly together. In plain terms, a well-fed gut helps keep the brain's front door shut. A starved one lets it drift open. The fuel and repair. Once these molecules cross into the brain, they don't just sit there. Studies show they act on neurons to support repair and growth signaling, including a pathway tied to BDNF, a protein your brain uses to form and hold on to memories. It's one of the reasons this whole system is being studied so hard for learning and memory. The noise. Your brain has its own immune cells called microglia. When they're calm, they maintain. When they're chronically activated, they create low-grade inflammation, the kind that feels like fog, flatness, and mental friction. Butyrate has been shown to help quiet overactive microglia, less inflammatory noise, a clearer signal. Now, one honest line, because this channel doesn't do hype, a lot of this research is still early. Much of it comes from animal and lab models, and from studies in disease conditions, not healthy 30-somethings looking for a sharper afternoon. Nobody can promise you that fixing your fiber will erase your brain fog, but the direction of the evidence is consistent and the mechanism is real. Feed the bacteria and they make a fuel your brain genuinely uses. Starve them and the supply drops. That part isn't speculation. So what do you actually do with this? You stop feeding yourself and start feeding the brewers. 3 things matter. 1. Fermentable fiber. not just any fiber. The bacteria that make butyrate are picky. They thrive on specific fibers. Think onions, garlic, leeks, asparagus, slightly green bananas, oats, and legumes. These are the grains for the brewery. 2. Diversity. No single food does it. A narrow diet grows a narrow set of bacteria. The wider your range of plants across a week, the wider and more productive your population of butyrate makers. 3. Consistency. This is the part people get wrong. You can't fix months of starvation in one good salad. These bacteria respond to what you feed them day after day. The brewery rebuilds slowly. Give it weeks, not days. If you do nothing else after this video, do this. Add 1 fermentable fiber food to a meal you already eat every single day and keep it there. That alone starts moving the needle. Now here's the honest gap. Knowing you should eat more fermentable fiber and actually doing it every day consistently in a dose that matters are 2 different things. Most people don't. Life gets busy and the brewery stays underfed. That's the one situation where a focused prebiotic earns its place. Not a probiotic that's adding bacteria. A prebiotic is the food, a concentrated, fermentable fiber that goes straight to the bacteria you already have and gives them what they need to get back to work. If you go that route, 2 things separate the ones worth your money from the rest. You want a fiber that's actually been studied in humans for shifting your gut population toward the beneficial fiber fermenting strains and dose enough to matter, not a token sprinkle. The one I'd start with checks both boxes, and I've put a link to it in the description so you don't have to go hunting. And look, this is exactly the kind of research this channel digs into every single week. The stuff that's actually happening under the hood, filtered down to what you can use. If you want to keep up, subscribing takes about 2 seconds. So the next time that afternoon fog rolls in, remember what's really going on. It might not be your willpower. It might not even be your age. It might just be a brewery that's been running low and a fuel line your brain has been waiting for you to refill. The good news is that this is one of the few parts of your cognition you can actually start feeding today. Thanks for spending these few minutes with me. If this gave you one new way to think about your own head, that's the whole point. I'll see you in the next one. This video is for informational and educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Talk to your healthcare provider before changing your diet, supplements, or routine, especially if you have a health condition.